Welcome back to the Real Estate 401k Show. I'm your host, Mike Weinstein, alongside Justin Frederick and Ryan Gerdes. Appreciate you joining us on this episode. You're going to want to text the word debt, DEBT, to 623-AZ-RECON. That's the word debt to 623-AZ-RECON.
You spelled it right. Good job.
Well, it's right here on the piece of paper, bro. I had to look down.
The B
knows his letters.
The B was silent.
I'm not a strong wordsmith. We always talk about careful where you get your information from. When my kids were younger, they would always come home and say, well, so-and-so said this. And I would always say, you got to consider your source of information, because just because you read it, and I know it's become a joke, but I think there's a lot of people that are still reading things on the internet and on social media and taking it for gospel.
100%.
And I would never tell anyone listening to our podcast, take everything that we say and take it for gospel. Do your own research, do your own homework. And
Trust but verify.
Trust but verify, and you'll come back to us. But there's a lot of financial gurus out there, and radio show hosts and TV show hosts, and I think one of the messages that gets misconstrued and gets confused a lot, Justin, is you will hear people tell, especially younger people, tell them that all debt is bad. Debt is bad, and therefore we sometimes don't make really good decisions. Because we run around with this notion in our head that all debt is bad. Not all debt is bad. There's a lot of bad debt out there, and I would say the majority of the debt opportunities out there you should run from. But there's good debt out there, and good debt that's going to help you make a lot of money.
Yeah, you just got to utilize it correctly and know what you're utilizing as well and how to utilize it. I feel like you're talking mostly about credit cards, and this is like a subject that...
Well, that's point number 2. Thanks for reading the article. But we're talking about debt. We're talking about like student loans. We're talking about mortgages. We're talking about auto loans, boat loans, and now I'm getting into probably some of the bad debt, but...
A lot of us don't have the opportunities like a lot of people do. So, I mean, to utilize debt may give you an opportunity that you may not have had without taking a loan out. Just like doctors, there's very few doctors in the world that can go through getting their doctorate without taking a student loan out, but they wouldn't be doctors if they didn't take these student loans out. I absolutely think that's a very good sacrifice. You're sacrificing taking on debt in order to make a lifelong career. Absolutely. There's all kinds of if you're making minimum wage, don't go out and buy a Corvette. It's not a good decision.
Unless you're a middle-aged white guy, don't buy a Corvette.
It's so funny because that's typically what you see, right?
I know.
When are you going to get your Corvette?
I can't fit.
Yeah, not recommend. I can't. I'm over there eating my knees whenever I'm sitting in one of those things.
They look cool to me, but it's not a wise decision.
Right. I mean, I think anything that's just a walking liability and putting debt out on it is probably not the wisest thing. My economics teacher always said, he was quoting somebody, but I wish that there was a one-handed economist, because whenever we're talking about debt, you can make one statement. So credit card debt is bad. On the other hand, if it's used properly and you're paying it off in full and you're not accruing any interest month over month, it's a good thing, right? Because you're going to not only build your credit, you could earn miles, and they've gone over a couple of those different benefits on here, but I strictly use my credit card for absolutely everything that I possibly can, so long as I'm not getting a 3% or higher surcharge for it. Because that's what our numbers have told us, is that not only the cash back that I get, but the miles that I get are worth about 2.5%. So 2.5% is kind of breaking even. And so if I can use my credit card on something and not get charged anything, or get charged 2.5% or less, then I'm using my credit card. If it's over 2.5%, then I'm paying cash for it. And our credit has just soared since we started using those tactics. Mm-hmm. And so, again, there's two sides to all of it. Even if it's a interest rate with 2.5% on your mortgage, you might say, "Oh man, you're never going to be able to buy another mortgage like that." But if you can't afford the damn thing, then you're going to go into default, and then all of a sudden your credit goes to hell, and you can't, you have to foreclose and can't buy anything for several years, and then you're starting from square one. So I think it's just overall financial management. You need to take a good, strong look in the mirror and know what your management skills are. If you have problems with, just shopping, let's just say you can't get off your Amazon app, know that about yourself. If you decide that, okay, I've been spending $3,000 a month on Amazon, all right, well, I'm going to cut that back to $1,000 a month. Be realistic, people. You're probably not going to do that. And then you're going to go take on another debt that's going to add to your overall. And then all of a sudden you're going to keep on doing your $3,000 a month on Amazon because you need that new light bulb or you need that new pair of socks or whatever superfluous spending you're doing it on. And you're not going to really, now if you go from $3,000 to $2,500, okay, that's a little bit more reasonable. You can kind of start setting those expectations, but be realistic when you're setting up your overall budget.
Yeah, and I think that would have been a great way to start this episode. At the end of the day, and really the point of the matter is there's good debt and there's bad debt out there, but all debt is bad if you can't afford it.
100%.
I mean, if you can't afford to pay it, it's bad. And I think going back to debt, because a lot of people just say live debt free, live debt free, live debt free. So then what a lot of people are doing is saying, okay, well, I'm going to live debt free, so I'm going to take the bus, ride a bike, which is fine, but I'm not going to buy a home. And because I don't want to have a mortgage, because a mortgage is going to be this
because it's bad.
It's going to be a huge number, and it's bad because why? Because I've been told all debt is bad. And back to your point, Ryan, where I think you were going, in the conversation is also the interest rate is important. I mean, that is one of the number one factors. We went and got, and I know you've done the same thing. We went and got our son a car. And it was a $32,000 car. And I didn't really want to add any more debt to it. And we thought about maybe, paying cash for it. But our interest rate's 0.99%. It's like free money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My wife got a new car, and her payment is astronomical. She's on a 3-year loan program. Payment's like $1,000 a month, but her interest rate's 0.99. Why would you pay it off? And so there's good debt, there's bad debt. Having to looking at interest rates is imperative, but just living your life saying, I am going to live debt free. If you are 100% committed to living debt free, you will never own a house.
Mm-hmm.
It's taken an overlook. The federal banking system was built on properly taking out debt. Literally, you would have $1 in your pocket, and that's not $1 in your pocket. That's a promise to pay back $1 in silver is what it initially was, and then gold, and then now it's just the value of that dollar, as you've seen, has lost quite a bit of value as they've printed more money and as inflation has kept impacting the market. So once you kind of take all those things into account, cash in pocket is still just a debt. It's still not a debt. It's a liability. So having that money into play and making money for you is going to be a hell of a lot more advantageous. That's why, I keep very little in a savings account. I keep the bare minimum. Our entire philosophy is we're going to keep 6 months worth of reserves in cash. Everything else is going to go into investments. And it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a car, whether it's a home, whatever. We're going to make sure that we have 6 months worth of reserves there because, shit happens or it might have a bad couple of months or, health, whatever. You might just need that as runway in order to get you out of a pinch. So not all debt is bad debt. And a couple of things that it wasn't mentioned on here that I think that is probably important to talk about is business debt. We're seeing more entrepreneurs out there than we have ever seen. And there's a lot of different companies that are giving phone calls to random people. You've just been approved for a $30,000 business loan. Be careful how you're using that. A lot of people just want to go over there and buy the next flashy thing for their business, but is it helping your actual business infrastructure? Is it going to help you grow? Are you going to be able to take that $1 that you've borrowed and turn it into 5, 10, 15, and how fast is it going to take you to turn that dollar into that 1, 5, 10, 15? And what are the repercussions of borrowing that $1? So I think that that's one thing that a lot of people haven't really been paying attention to. But if it's used properly, it can really help you be a catalyst to your business and growing future financial growth.
Yeah, the two things that I look at when I am considering taking on new debt. Number one, do I absolutely need it? Okay, for me and for my business and for the three of us, we absolutely need a car. Okay, and we're all three at a place in life, and I know not everybody is, and this is not the, I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk here, but we could probably buy our next car cash if we wanted to, but we need a car. It's something that we have to have. So then when I'm going out and buying a car, to my earlier point, is I'm looking at that rate. And that rate, what I'm borrowing that money for, at is going to determine what I do. If it's a 0.99% or 1.99% auto loan rate, fantastic. If it's 10, 11, 12%, that's not so fantastic. And then the other aspect, and it leads back to home ownership, is if I'm bringing on debt, does this debt have the opportunity to make me money? You guys know I want a fishing boat so bad. I really do. But it's not going to appreciate. My next car is not going to appreciate. Home ownership, to me, is amazing debt. I would never want to pay cash for a house, because if I had that much cash to pay for a house, I could buy 3 or 4 homes, and they're going to appreciate, and they're going to help me make money. And then the other thing, we talk about it all the time, and I don't want to get into all the details of our real estate 401k program. This is what a lot of people don't understand, guys. So I go buy a home. I put X amount of thousands of dollars down, and this is my interest rate, and I'm living in this home. I need a place to live. Going back to wants and needs, I need to have a roof over my head. If I rent, no chance of ever making money on that. But if I buy a house today and I live in it, and let's say over the next 3 years, the value of that home goes down. Oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. The home is going back down. You still need a place to sleep. Home prices will go back up. But every time you make your mortgage payment, instead of rent, every time you make your mortgage payment, you would still be making a payment if you were renting. You're buying down the loan balance.
Give you a quick example. We just recently bought a vehicle. We have a new driver in our household. So he just turned 16. So our kids they benefit from our hand-me-down vehicles. So they got my wife's vehicle, and so we bought a brand new Tesla. I've never.
I don't even know who you are anymore. You got solar panels last year. You got a Tesla
I think they're cool.
now.
I think they're cool.
Dude, I mean, I know. Like, I turned Democrat like overnight or something like that, right? But I'm over there and I'm looking at the numbers, right? And what it was going to cost for us to buy a used one. Yeah, we would have saved about $15,000 buying a used one, but our interest rate was going to be in the mid 6s, high 6s, somewhere right around there, and we don't have credit issues, so that's going to be the best that we can get on a used vehicle from the resources I was tapping into. You go and you buy a brand new Tesla, they're going to give it to you at 1.99% right now, and so our monthly payment was going to be basically $25 or $30 higher for brand new, not a mile on it, all the warranties involved, etc., for brand new as opposed to a used one with whatever it was, 45,000 miles on it, nothing crazy. But I mean, it's just so many people get locked up in one number, right? And at the end of the day, I'm gonna be out of pocket the same amount as that person that goes and finances a $45,000 used Tesla. So who's the dummy there, right?
I feel like you won.
Yeah, no.
Nobody sat in your vehicle.
You're generally
before.
the dummy, but you won this time.
Yeah. Every dog has his day, right?
All righty. If you would like some more information about how to leverage real estate, really understand how this works, and start building a real estate portfolio. And I know we always use the word investing and investor. We're also speaking of first-time home buyers, because when you work with our team, we're going to help you see the real estate through the prism of building wealth in real estate. I would love to have that conversation with you. All you got to do is text the word debt to 623-AZ-RECON. That's debt to 623-AZ-RECON. All right, I want to go back to, circle around to the other point of, I think, the things that are misleading people. Now, if you can't handle a credit card, and you do not have the discipline to handle a credit card, you shouldn't have a credit card. I get that. But there's this, Justin, there's this concept out there that all credit cards are bad. Credit cards are the enemy. The best thing that you can do for your financial future is never get a credit card. And I don't know how many times you've seen it where you have a first-time home buyer come and say, yeah, I've been taught not to have any credit cards, so therefore I don't have any credit cards. So you know what? My credit score is going to be stellar.
Yeah.
And there's nothing on their credit, therefore they don't have a credit score.
Yeah, unfortunately, if you don't have credit cards, even if you have just an installment loan, and an installment loan is like an auto loan or a student loan, most likely you're not going to have a good credit score. The way the system is designed for you to utilize credit cards, and credit cards can give you a really good score, or they can give you a really bad score. It depends on how you utilize them. But there's so many benefits to credit cards, not only with the credit score, but just like Ryan was talking about earlier, miles, cash back. If you don't carry a balance and you use the credit cards for things that you would typically buy for cash and then just pay them off, you're gonna gain activity on your card. You're gonna gain points if you get the right type of cards. You're going to gain miles depending on the card you have, and research those. And if you're not holding debt, it doesn't matter what your interest rate is if you're paying these things off. I use my cards for I have multiple cards, and I use them for things that we would normally buy with cash. Gas. One of our cards is strictly for gas. One of our cards is strictly for groceries. One of our cards is for Costco, so we can get the Costco points, and I can go in there and buy something cool for Christmas decorations around Christmas time. That's what we do, and we as soon as these things go from not pending, we watch them, and then we'll pay them right off. And so we'll make multiple payments to the credit cards each month. So it's not like we're waiting until we get our statement to pay these guys off. But that's what maximizes our credit scores. There's plenty of people that are Dave Ramsey fans that are out there that don't want to carry these debts, but then they can't even get into a house because they don't have a credit score. They don't have,
and Uncle Dave's not going to let you move in with him.
No, and Dave's fortunate. He has a lot of money. He's able to do these things. It takes a long time to be able to build yourself up in order to get to these points. I feel like credit cards are just one of the stages that you need to go through in order to accumulate wealth in order to be able to be at the point where Dave's at.
Okay, and then to that point, Ryan, I don't want to cross the line here. I'm not saying everybody go out and get credit cards.
Yeah.
Because again, if you're not responsible, the best thing that you can do, if you're going to have a credit card, or you've had problems with credit cards in the past, and this is like and I know you've done the same thing with your kids. For my son, when he turned 18, first thing that we did was we opened up a credit card, and you actually, Justin, sat down with him and just gave him the strategies. This is how you do it. Quentin had a plan. Like, I'm going to get a credit card. This is my plan. This is what I'm going to stick to. When my first credit card I got when I was 20, and I had no plan. I thought it was free money. And then the credit card company, they were so cool. Like after a while, they started calling me. And I thought, man, this is really good customer service. How you doing,
great,
Mr. Citibank?
No,
I'm big time now.
that ain't a thank you letter. That's a bill.
A pass bill.
I will say one thing that credit card companies have done that has really benefited the consumer now versus 10, 15 years ago is they've made it easier to transact in that making payments. I used to have to call them twice a month and sit on hold or whatever, or go through an automated system and it was a 5-10 minute thing before I could make a payment. Now I can just jump on the app, and every major credit card company has an app. You can just jump on there, make your payment, and then it's over with in 15 seconds or less. So I say that because you do need to have a plan. And my plan, I'm going to have to change now a little bit, but my plan was always, whenever I get gas, I'm going to pay it off in full. Now that we drive that damn Tesla, I'm only getting gas, like once every month and a half in the truck.
You can pick up with the tab for my gas.
Yeah,
I'll
Yeah,
drive-
me too.
yeah.
You know what?
Well,
That's
how
a
about
good
once a week
idea.
we hop
That's
in
a good idea.
What a guy. But the moral of the story
It will
is,
be helping your credit, Ryan.
is I was paying, I was paying.
We're givers. Sorry, man.
I'll let you guys go.
Yeah.
Okay, no. Keep firing.
We're done.
But I always paid my credit card off in full every time I was at a gas pump, and that was a good plan for me. And it's as simple as that. So you can sit around and you can and have analysis paralysis, but as long as you just have something simple where you're going to pay it off. And if you're young, you haven't had a credit card before, the expectation that the credit company gives you is to pay monthly. That's the worst thing that you can do, because if you're new to budgeting, or you don't have a whole lot in savings yet, or you don't have quite the income, then pay it off weekly. Pay it off twice a week. And then that way you know where you are at any given time, and you can adjust and pivot your budget to whatever it is for that month if unforeseen expenses jump at you.
I just want to throw in too, if you're really bad about managing credit debt, there is secured credit cards out there where you can actually pay to have a balance, and you're putting up that money, and that's why it's called secured, because it's securing against the money that you put up for the card. But it will still report to the bureaus as if you're using their money. So that's another good avenue in order to still utilize. Yeah, get started with a credit card. It will teach you how to manage that debt.
All right, we've actually gone long, but Justin, I want to throw one more scenario at you, because you see this on the lending side. So we will get home buyers. Haven't talked to a lender yet, but they know that they've got $10,000 racked up on their credit card, and the temptation is, hey, before I call Justin, before I go through the pre-qualifying process, I'm just going to wipe out all my debt. I've found sometimes you tell me, hey, listen, you need to keep. During this process, you want to keep this credit card. Don't zero it out, but because we're looking for a home or qualifying for a mortgage, you might want it at this number, and it's a little bit of a game. And that's why I just tell people, talk to you before you do anything.
Yeah, we have the ability to run simulators on your credit report, and I feel like this happens probably 50% of the time. Somebody wants, hey, don't run my report right now. I'm going to pay this off. And then once it reports, I'll have you run it. So we're basically waiting 45 days before we get to that point. No, my suggestion to you is start now. Let me take a look at your credit report. And you may not need to do anything. You may be surprised that you might have a really good score, even though you have these credit card debts. Or I might come back to you and say, hey, you actually don't have enough debt. I need you to put $10 on this card. Or I may say, no, that card's not hurting you. Apply it to this card. But I can maximize the efficiency of your money, so you're not paying off something you don't need to. I'd rather you have more funds in your account a lot of times to make your file stronger for the underwriter than having you pay off debt. There's different avenues, and having that conversation with us is the right thing to do.
All right, well, there it is. Not all debt is bad, and credit cards can actually be your friend. If you'd like some more information on the home buying process, but more importantly, how to leverage all of this stuff and start to build or continue to build your real estate portfolio, all you got to do is text the word debt to 623AZ Recon. That's debt to 623AZ Recon.